The aloof, beautiful CEO wife's company went public, and her fortune skyrocketed. What am I, an ordinary office worker, supposed to do? What else can I do? Divorce immediately. Even thinking about it for zero point 0.1 seconds is disrespectful to money. Take the tens of billions in divorce money from my wife. Pack up gracefully and leave. Sophia looked at me with teary eyes. So you've grown up? Ethan, daring to bring up divorce with me. It's been 5 years. Brothers, do you know how I've spent these 5 years? I'm not afraid of losing a bet. I'm afraid of quitting gambling. Which family's child cries every day? Which gambler loses every day? Sophia has finally made something of herself. She can make me financially free. Of course. Actually, the reason I want a divorce isn't that she became rich. Who in their right mind would do that? The main thing is that I've noticed some signs that Sophia is going to have an affair. It would be a lie to say I'm not hurt or upset. With Sophia's looks and figure, I'd forgive her even if she were an idiot. Ever since the day she became CEO of the company, I vaguely sensed that something like this might happen. It's not just that men get worse when they have money. It's actually more accurate to drop the men and say people do. Anyone with money will turn bad. Sophia probably didn't know. That day she was on speakerphone in the bathroom, and I overheard her by accident. Harrison from Demon City magazine is not only handsome and capable, he's also your schoolmate. Any thoughts? From a voice, it was her best friend Luna. Sophia touched up her makeup as she replied, "Don't talk nonsense. We're just ordinary friends." Who do you think you are? Which good person gives just an ordinary friend a Mercedes-AMG GT63? No matter how rich you are, you can't squander like that. I froze at the bathroom door. I had been about to ask her what she wanted for dinner, but suddenly stood still. That luxury car was every man's dream ride. Sophia had once said she'd buy me one when she had money. Now that he's rich, he even bought a car. Too bad it's not for me. A car is just a car, nothing special. Sophia answered casually. On the other end, Luna chuckled non-committally at that. "Fine, I'll keep an eye on him for you, so some other woman doesn't snatch him away." "Okay," Sophia said, then hung up. Their conversation was like idle chit-chat, talking about trivial matters. Just one door away, I felt as if struck by a thunderbolt. Back then, he used our marital home as collateral and borrowed money everywhere to start company. We didn't even have tens of thousands of dollars to hold a wedding banquet. Recently, Sophia suddenly remembered this and planned to make up for it with a lavish Western-style wedding. I thought it was because of love, but it turned out she had an emotional affair and felt guilty, so she wanted to compensate me. As for whether she cheated physically, I can't say for sure. She cares a lot about her reputation, so she might not have cheated during the marriage. But women, well, their one constant trait is changeability. She is affectionate with me here, yet that doesn't stop her from being good to another man. The kind of love I want is mutual. Since she has thoughts of finding someone new, I don't want to play the usurper. I contacted a lawyer and arranged to meet at a Western-style tea house for a consultation. On the tea room's television, they were airing the news of Sophia's company going public, instantly making her the richest person in Motor City. And the person being interviewed and reported on was that Harrison whom she'd never met. He looked tall and upright, handsome, pale, and smooth-skinned like a young idol. It seems girls nowadays really like handsome guys like that. On TV, Harrison was gentle and refined, a true gentleman, knowledgeable about everything from astronomy and geography to history. He casually produced all sorts of classical allusions and poems, fearless in front of the live stream and billionaires. Not to mention women, I even felt a fondness for him. Seeing me staring at the TV, Tyler, my high school friend and lawyer, couldn't help teasing. "He looks a lot like you from college, this guy Harrison." I sprang to my feet. How the hell is he anything like me? Look at him, clearly lacking in young energy, a delicate, pretty boy. I'm a real man's man. Tyler shook his head with a smile. We're alumni, and he's a well-known one. At previous reunions, everyone thought the same. You and him are the same type. I didn't expect that back in college I was seen by everyone as a pretty boy. I wasn't in the mood to keep discussing that, so I looked up at Tyler. I came to consult you. I want a divorce. Tyler's hand trembled as he raised his teacup, staring at me in shock. Ethan, are you out of your mind? Remember when you were in debt everywhere, and now things have finally turned around? You're telling me you want a divorce? Do you think I would ask you to meet me just to joke about getting a divorce? Tyler took a sip of tea, still seemingly unable to recover from the shock. But it's no wonder. 5 years ago, Sophia's company was on the brink of bankruptcy and was about to be listed as a dishonest executor. I resolutely took out my wife's savings and even mortgaged the home I had worked hard to buy for our marriage to secure a loan. In the end, thanks to a good reputation, I was able to borrow a lot of money in US dollars, which helped Sophia get through the crisis. If she doesn't turn things around, then I'll either become a deadbeat or jump off a building. You married her when she was poorest and most desolate, and now that she's rich you want a divorce, doing things as unpredictable as in college. Tyler smiled as he poured his hot tea. I sighed wryly. Tyler, back then her family was practically ruined. I could handle things financially or emotionally, but now she's the most beautiful woman in the demon market, the richest there, and I'm a 9-to-5 office worker. Do you think I can still control her? Tyler gave a soft sigh and said nothing. She lifted the teacup and drank half, leaned back in the wooden chair, and looked at Tyler. You've handled so many divorce cases. I suppose you understand the principles best. You're afraid your brother will suffer, but also afraid he'll end up driving a Range Rover. Women are worse. She might even find a new lover. Sophia cheated? Tyler asked uncertainly. Thinking of the scene in the bathroom earlier, I could only analyze uncertainly, not sure, but probably soon. Tyler lightly tapped the table. Then that's fine. Thought crime isn't a crime. If you intervene in time, handing down the death penalty is a bit of an overreaction. Hearing Tyler say that, I wavered inwardly for a few seconds. Then I thought of Sophia's in different words. If a woman doesn't reject a man, isn't that tacit consent for him to take things further? I scoffed. Tyler, tell me, in the divorce cases you've handled, how many people actually turn back? By the time it comes to court, nobody looks dignified. Tyler was stopped by my words, but he still frowned and tried to persuade me. Brother, it hasn't been that long. You're being way too calm. The moment her company came back from the dead, I was prepared for this kind of situation. It wasn't just this Harrison, but her male secretary, and so on. I didn't continue after that. Some things Tyler could understand without me saying them. How many times have I gone to Sophia's company and, as her husband, had to make an appointment in advance just to see her? Every day, there would be a different style of roses on her desk. I've seen her eating with the male secretary. I've even seen through the crack in the door that her male secretary was pulling up the zipper of her dress. After the two of them tidied up, I knocked and went in, then handed her the Western-style cream soup I had simmered all morning. When work ended, Sophia's driver specifically came to my house and brought me the lunchbox containing the thick soup. Not a drop of the soup was missing, and even the bow I had tied hadn't been disturbed. But there was an ash flake on top. After I calmly recounted everything, Tyler nodded and smiled. I should have you give those clients a talk, instead of spending all your time thinking about fighting over the inheritance in court. Not the same. A wife who stuck it out through poverty and a husband who stood by through hard times, accompanying your partner from the lowest point to glory. No one would be willing to give that up. Any man wouldn't bear to hand over such an excellent, beautiful wife to someone else, and I'm no exception. I said helplessly, looking out at the bustling street. There's no choice. Tearing the face off each other isn't dignified, and we might end up with nothing. It's better to end things now, while there's some dignity left, and take what's rightfully mine. At the same time, I resolved in my heart that before the divorce I would go meet this Harrison. When Sophia came home, I was in the living room watching Harrison interview her on that show. Sophia sat beside me. So how is it? Your wife looks good on camera. Huh? A lot of guys on foreign social apps are calling me wife. She acted totally natural, which for a moment made me suspect that the gift she gave Harrison was just an AMG model car. I've always wanted a coupe, I said, pretending to be casual. A smile played at the corner of Sophia's eyes. Sure, pick one you like and we'll go buy it. He glanced at her casually. Mercedes-AMG. The smile on Sophia's face froze. Then she pressed her lips together. Didn't you say the Panamera was very beautiful before? He smiled and nodded. All right, the Panamera then, but I want the top spec. I chose the top spec because my car has to be more expensive than the AMG GT63. The day after picking up the car, I had my first crash, a head-on embrace with Harrison's AMG. Harrison stood on the curb with a sullen face, his eyes dark. The luxury car collision drew a crowd of onlookers, and before long the traffic police arrived. Mr. Harrison, the CCTV and dashcam show you changed lanes over a solid line and are fully at fault. Harrison looked at his beloved car with a face full of distress, completely ignoring the traffic officer's words. His AMG was dented on one side, the headlight shattered, and the tire had flown off. Which idiot was driving? Couldn't they yield when they saw me change lanes? I don't care about the point deduction. Are you satisfied now? Both cars need major repairs. Harrison's eyes reddened, his face full of grievance. His unhinged behavior left the traffic officer stunned. Was this really a way to argue? The driver stuck behind watched from the side. Hearing Harrison speak like that, his temper flared. Are you a woman? Need priority for ladies? You're an AMG GT. They're in a Panamera. They're pampered. Oomph. I'm a civilized person. I waited until the traffic police arrived before getting out of the car to avoid unnecessary arguments. No sooner had I opened the door than Harrison pointed at me and shouted, "You wouldn't let me change lanes? I'm in a hurry." Oh, even driving a car worth over $1 million, you still need to rush. Looks like this AMG GT63 can't change your fate either, he said, lifting his chin as he spoke. The moment Harrison saw my face, his expression stiffened and he clearly grew nervous. He turned to the traffic officer and said, "Once this is dealt with, I'll leave. Let the insurance company handle the other side afterward." Then he walked away without looking back. I was planning a divorce, but Harrison seemed even more anxious than I was. Just now, everyone was driving straight. Maybe he deliberately crossed the double line to crash into me. Go home and call Tyler. Is the divorce agreement drafted yet? Tyler, on the other end of the line, was taken aback for a moment. No way. Old classmate. You're serious? I was going to say, think it over, try to reconcile. Can't do it, huh? Then I'll find someone else tomorrow. Don't know. Can I bring it to you first thing tomorrow? The next day before work, Tyler handed me a folder. I opened it, and there it was, the divorce agreement I wanted, detailed and clearly organized. I neither lost out nor gained much. After all, even if I had invested capital at the time and was part of the founding team, I'd only be earning more now, not less. I knocked and walked into Sophia's office. "Miss Sophia, could you do me a favor?" Sophia leaned back in the executive chair and looked at me. "We're married. Ask for whatever you want." I planted my hands on the desk and leaned forward, studying her delicate face up close. "Good. I want to ask you for something." "What is this?" The car key to a Mercedes-AMG GT63. Sophia's expression froze. She stared in my eyes. The two of us locked gazes, neither willing to back down. Finally, Sophia forced a smile. "Ethan, don't be ridiculous. It's just a car, it's not that much money." I didn't follow her train of thought and asked directly, "Can you give it to me?" Sophia frowned slightly, staring at me for a few seconds as if trying to confirm whether I was joking, until I glared back at her with a blank expression. "Give it to you tomorrow." Sophia finally relented. I smiled and nodded, didn't say much, and left the CEO's office. Before closing the door, Sophia asked, "Are you jealous?" I stopped, didn't turn my head. "If you say so, then yes." Just after the door closed, the sound of a glass breaking came from inside the office. After getting the AMG GT key, I went to the cafe beneath the Magic City Evening News weekly building. I invited Harrison out for a chat. I happened to run into Harrison as he came in. He looked noticeably worse than he did during the TV interview. He even had dark circles under his eyes, maybe because of having to give the car back. Sitting at the window table, I reached out and pointed to the seat opposite. "Please sit, Mr. Harrison. When he saw the AMG key on the table, his pupils shrank, and he then slammed down into his chair. Mr. Ethan, are you trying to show off to me? Harrison ran his hand through his hair, revealing a fair face. It's just that a strong-willed woman like Sophia, if something given is taken back, she'll only make up for it with a more expensive gift later. I nodded in agreement. Of course I understand such a simple truth, but it's not a big problem. But, Mr. Ethan, by doing this, aren't you putting Sophia in an unjust position and making her lose face? Looking at the self-righteous Harrison, I quietly pushed the keys toward him. Her face means nothing to me, Mr. Harrison. With my current net worth, AMG is hardly something to brag about. The reason I came back was simply because I wanted to. I paused for a few seconds. Harrison watched me warily. I waved my hand and laughed. Don't be nervous. I just want to give it to you openly and honestly. Harrison frowned. What do you mean by that? If you want, I can give it to you, but you can't snatch it, understand? Dear brother. Harrison's face instantly went pale, and the coffee in his hand was spilled. He set the coffee down on the table and looked at me in stunned disbelief. He thought I didn't know, but actually he is my half-brother by the same father. After more than 20 years apart, when we met again, we both pretended not to know each other. But the moment I heard his name, I knew it was him. On the day of the car accident, he saw me, and he must have recognized me then too. Makes sense. If I want to win over Sophia, of course I'd find out about her husband. From what I know of that stepmother, once Harrison and Sophia are together, she'll drag Harrison to apologize to me, and Harrison will be in tears, choking out, "Brother, it's all my fault. I didn't know Sophia was my sister-in-law." Please, I can't predict that stuff. There's no way I'm going to let it happen. I remember how that mother and son treated us back then. My mother was driven out and forced to leave with nothing. I learned one thing: strike first or be struck. After a long silence, the corner of my mouth lifted into a kindly smile. I planned to divorce Sophia. When Harrison heard that, his previously dejected look transformed as if he'd been injected with adrenaline. He looked at me with gleaming eyes. Then I added, "But you won't be her husband. That'll be written into the divorce agreement." Harrison hadn't finished processing the surprise before I sent him to hell. His eyes reddened and his lips trembled. "Brother, we were so young back then. I didn't understand anything. I'm innocent. All these years, Mom and Dad have been trying to find you. Not to mention, we're blood-related brothers." I raised a hand to stop his emotional act, scoffing, "Harrison, I fell for your trick once. There won't be a second time. Put that performance away." Harrison's face darkened. He hadn't expected me to be iron-hearted, impervious to persuasion. He then leaned back lazily in his chair. "Sophia complained to me. There are many problems in your marriage. Being with you is exhausting." I didn't deny it. "Maybe, but you still don't have a chance." After saying that, I stood up and prepared to leave. "Brother, tell you to divorce Sophia," I profited. I glanced at him out of the corner of my eye. "Don't be so full of yourself. At most, you're just a fuse." Saying that, I pushed the door and left. After I got home, I started picking at Sophia, finding all sorts of reasons to argue and give her the cold shoulder. After all, we're getting a divorce. Being lovey-dovey now would be inappropriate. And I need someone to take over the marriage. So, of all people, I chose the stepmother's son who has a grudge against me. The wedding company contacted me to discuss the specific arrangements for the ceremony. I told them outright to postpone the wedding and deal with it later. Sophia heard the wedding was off and came home to confront me. She took the divorce papers out of her bag. "Take a look. If you have no objections, sign here." "Ethan, are you crazy?" Sophia looked at me in disbelief. Amron sat on the sofa. I looked at her with a blank expression. "Do I look crazy to you? You know better than anyone how we've been these past few years. We've long been on the verge of divorce." Sophia took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. "Is it because of Harrison? I know he's your half-brother." She threw the divorce agreement across and finally couldn't help shouting, "You know nothing. If you knew about my relationship with him, you shouldn't have gotten close to him." "I know, it's just..." Angrily pointing a finger at Sophia. "So what if you have a few US dollars? Does that make you able to look down on everyone? She stood there with her small mouth slightly open, eyes wide, her face full of disbelief. In all the years we've been married, I've never been this angry. After a long moment, Sophia reached out and hugged me. I just wanted you to reconcile with your father. I've been hesitating about whether to do this, and I didn't expect you to find out. Could I have misunderstood her? At that thought, the anger in my heart turned to sorrow, and tears slipped down helplessly. Sophia, you don't know anything at all. Sophia shook her head. No, that's not it. I know you saw a psychiatrist 5 years ago. I know everything. Pushing Sophia aside. Don't preach virtue unless you've suffered others' hardships. You don't know how my family fell apart back then. My father had millions in assets, but forced my mother to leave with nothing. I lost custody, developed depression, and was gloomy all the time. Sophia's face showed disbelief. Maybe you misunderstood, just like you misunderstood my relationship with Harrison. I gave him a car because my flirtatious friend Luna liked him. I used a car to catch his attention. After all, he's your brother. You don't understand at all. That woman usurped Harrison, flaunted herself, drove my mother away, diverted assets, and even tried to kill me. If I hadn't gotten out of that house early, you wouldn't be seeing me now. Now, whether Sophia only regards Harrison as a brother-in-law or not, Harrison is determined to follow in his mother's footsteps and usurp the nest. I picked up the divorce papers from a floor and handed them to Sophia. Remember? When we got married, we agreed that if either of us wanted a divorce, the other couldn't stop them. You can keep the property, but I insist that your future husband not be Harrison. Sophia didn't take the papers. She only looked at me with reddened eyes. Ethan, how can you do this to me? Then she pressed my shoulder and shoved me against the wall. Why? What did I do for you to be so cruel to me? I gently pushed her hand away and looked out the window. Sophia, someday years from now you'll thank me. Human nature is not something to be tested. Sophia wrapped her arms around my waist, burying her face in my chest. Honey, do we really have to go this far? Don't be like that. Please, Miss Sophia, in consideration of all these years, if not for achievements, then for the hardships I've endured. Sophia looked up and glared at me, a stark contrast to my calm expression, with not a ripple in my eyes. Sophia pushed me away, picked up the pen on the table, scribbled her full name at the end of the divorce agreement, threw the pen down, shoved the agreement into my hand, and walked out without looking back. After the paperwork was done, I bought groceries and went to my mom Margaret Johnson's apartment to cook. Although she left with nothing, my mom eventually found a job and supported herself. Once she had an income, my mom brought me to live with her, and from then on the two of us relied on each other. I only moved out after I married Sophia because she said she wasn't comfortable living with my mother. When she opened the door and saw me, my mother's face immediately lit up with a smile. Then she glanced behind me and said, "Good son, why didn't you bring your wife over?" I froze for a second. If I told her now that I had just divorced Sophia, she'd probably explode. So I had to make an excuse and say she had to attend a meeting. Mom gave a soft, "Oh," then reminded me, Sophia has been successful in her career. It's time to think about having a child, isn't it? Seeing my awkward expression, Mom took my hand. Has Sophia been using birth control all this time? When she was busy with work, she didn't want kids, but her company is pretty stable now, right? She can't keep finding other excuses. During the meal, Mom sighed several times just because of this matter. If I continue with Sophia, I'm minding up like Mom, depressed, insecure, constantly worrying that Sophia might be having problems with someone else. I can only take it slow and go with the flow. Back then, when Sophia and I were renting a fireside room in the basement, Sophia had mentioned having children. No means no time. Bringing a child into the world would only add more pressure on me. Thinking about our financial situation then, and both of us working from morning till night, having a child really wasn't suitable. At that time, Sophia was innocent and kind. She said that if the startup failed and we went bankrupt, she could separate from me so I could find someone else. After saying that she got a lesson from me, and from then on the two of us worked together, and only then did things turn around. Looking back on those days, though they were hard, I talked about everything with Sophia. In public, she was a cold, aloof beauty CEO, but at home she was completely unserious with me. He barges in while I'm showering and keeps slapping my butt for no reason. When we sleep, he always likes to grab my hand, a little rascal through and through. The past is like fleeting smoke. After finishing a meal, I was just about to bring up divorce with Mom. She stood up, tidying the dishes as she lectured me. Women, a child can bind her heart. Once she has a child, she's settled. I couldn't help but retort, that person became rich. Mom, you gave birth to me, and in the end you still got nothing. My mother stiffened at my words, her face going pale. Realizing I'd said the wrong thing, I quickly stood up. I'm sorry, Mom. I spoke carelessly. My mother shook her head. The one who should apologize is me. I failed in my duty as a mother. Mom glanced at me and wiped her tears with her sleeve. It's enough that you understand my intentions. You're a good child, and you'll take care of the family yourself. I nodded. I divorced Sophia, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. After speaking, I took the divorce certificate out of my pocket. Mom looked at me in astonishment, snatched the little green book from my hand, opened it, and read carefully. After reading, she slapped my arm. Ethan, are you trying to kill me with worry? Sophia treated you so well, and now you act like you're above everyone. Is that it? Looking at Mom's heartbroken face, I took a bottle of foreign beer from the fridge and gulped it down. Don't worry, I got a lot of dollars. From now on, we won't have to worry about food or clothing. And then, is that enough for you? Mom glared at me, still not recovered from the shock of my divorce news. I nodded. Of course. What else could I want? I volunteered for the divorce. Once Harrison releases it, he'll only put me down and lift Sophia up. That won't harm her or the company. Instead, it will make the stock price soar. Mom watched me drink glass after glass and sat beside me, whispering, "You two really can't get back together?" I know Mom has always liked Sophia. She used to be well-read and well-mannered, frugal and capable at running a household. After she had money, she often bought things for Mom. And when she came with me, she acted clingy and extremely filial. She just doesn't understand that a woman standing at the peak of her career can't see the scenery at the foot of the mountain. She no longer has time to remember or reflect on the people who used to be around her. They gradually fade away and drift apart. Mom, after we separated, you know what? I feel refreshed, sleeping well, and eating heartily. Mom pulled 2 tissues to wipe her tears. Her voice choked. It's all my fault. I drove you out back then, made you lose faith in marriage. I smiled and shook my head. Don't talk nonsense, Mom. It's nothing to do with that. Several of her company's partners are basically divorced. I've looked into it a lot. Some things are inevitable. There was one thing I didn't say. Those who hadn't divorced were tacitly keeping to themselves and doing their own thing. Mom clutched my hand, worried. Sophia is different from them. She's not that kind of person. You have to believe her. Mom, after all, only saw one side of things and didn't expect the other. I took a sip of wine and continued. Mom, I'm just an ordinary office worker, but Sophia hasn't reached her destination yet. She won't be satisfied with being the richest person in one city. In a few years, she might even go global and become a household name businesswoman. Sophia really never let me suffer grievances, but as her status and wealth grew day by day and our life became more comfortable, I felt increasingly unsettled. Before, everyone knew my name. Later, they all just kept calling me Miss Sophia's husband. I left the apartment where Mom lived, packed my bags, and set off on a round-the-world trip, from South America to Antarctica, then to the Maldives. Sipping fruit juice and watching the beauties by the sea, I hoped the phone wouldn't ring. Then it did, and to my surprise, it was my cheap father, George Johnson, who only called once every few years. I answered the call, and a deep, slightly hoarse voice came through. Ethan, I heard you and Sophia divorced. Why don't you come work in my company? After all, Johnson Industries will ultimately belong to you brothers. I scoffed. Mr. George, you're getting more confused with age. Your company has long been failing. Otherwise, how could one AMG make you so happy? On the other end, my father coughed repeatedly. Then the woman Claire Bennett's voice came through. Ethan, don't get smug. After a while, my son will win Sophia over. When the wedding happens, you'll be invited. You must come. I snorted coldly and said into the phone, Old woman, just like before, you're still shameless. On the phone came the scolding voice of the cheap old man. Two brothers fighting over one woman. Have you no shame? Harrison can marry anyone, but Sophia absolutely cannot. Old man, are you senile? Don't you know what Sophia's situation is now? If it weren't for her giving you orders every year, this rotten company would have collapsed long ago. I don't care. A fickle woman like that will never be allowed through the doors of the Johnson family. Oh ho, you're so noble, so mighty, back in the day. I snorted and hung up the phone. I was speechless at the argument on the other end. That man married his mistress, and now his own son is going to be someone else's mistress. Truly, what goes around comes around. Just as I was having the time of my life, traveling the world, Mom called me. Son, that Johnson sent over some documents. It seems he wants to transfer a part of his estate to you. I frowned and asked, What's wrong? Is the old bastard finally on his last legs? Mom sighed. It probably won't happen that fast. Maybe he's getting older and his conscience is waking up. Song made a cold snort through his nose. Mom, tell him this. The divorce settlement I get will be hundreds of times his assets in US dollars. I have no interest in his little money. Not everyone is stingy with their first spouse like he is. That's true. He can't compare to Sophia. Just as I was about to hang up, Mom suddenly said, All right, Sophia has been coming over for dinner at my place every day lately. When she can't make it, she still calls to apologize. I replied indifferently. Mom added, When you two got married before, you never came this often and Sophia didn't have any scandals either. Feeling inexplicably annoyed, Mom, you don't have to entertain her when she comes anymore. After playing for more than 2 months, I still wasn't quite used to wandering around abroad. I had only been back in the country for a couple of days when Tyler called to say there was an alumni reunion and insisted I attend. Now I'm unemployed, so saying I was too busy not to go wouldn't really make sense. If you ask why I don't like alumni reunions, it's because they're all about eating, drinking, partying, gossiping, one-night stands, and showing off. When Tyler and I reached the door of the private room, they were in the middle of a lively conversation. I told you back then, Sophia and Ethan would get divorced sooner or later. Once you have money, who wouldn't want to enjoy themselves? Yeah, Ethan must be kicking himself now. He spent years as a poor guy and ended up with nothing. If you ask me, it would have been different if he had chosen Avery back then. Then another person stepped forward and said, Don't be sour graping just because you can't have it. Didn't you watch the news? This is the highest divorce settlement on record abroad. Don't let Ethan's current downfall fool you. His assets still crush ours. Also, reminder, Avery isn't married yet. The person who was offended didn't accept it and flatly asserted, It must be Sophia playing around too much outside. Sorry, Ethan. Otherwise, how could that good-hearted guy choose divorce? True, on the surface, she got an astronomical breakup settlement, but who knows if she secretly cried her eyes out. Even then, it's at least a toy poodle level. Haha. Hearing this, I smiled and looked at Tyler. Alumni reunions really are full of hidden talents. Tyler rubbed his nose. Only Zhang Chong is a loose-lipped one. It's the first time the whole class has gathered since graduation. Quite a few came because of you. Just bear with it. No wonder he could be a famous lawyer. He always says the right things. But there's some truth to it. I have pretty good social standing, and I'm still the richest for now, although this money was Sophia's breakup settlement. Pushing the door open, classmates I hadn't seen for a long time stood up one after another to greet me. Tyler is the class monitor and also the organizer of this gathering. He clapped his hands to get everyone's attention. We're all old classmates, so tonight let's eat, drink, and have fun to our heart's content. Whoever has the most savings pays the bill. Okay? After saying that, he patted my back. Seeing the scene, everyone instantly knew who would be the unlucky sucker and broke into applause and cheers. The atmosphere on the spot became lively, rare, and boisterous. As everyone gradually quieted down, I laughed helplessly and had to backtrack. Everyone enjoy yourselves tonight. After a few rounds of drinks, Tyler put his arm around me and said, "Originally we planned a big reunion for the class of 12 alumni, but we thought it was too much trouble, so we gave up." I understood what Tyler meant. The campus beauty of our year had been Sophia, though she wasn't in the same class. Now that I'm divorced from her, she's the most famous and wealthiest alum of our year. Ethan, cheers, I really envy you. Back then, two school beauties fought over you, and Avery still hasn't married. The one toasting was a high school classmate, though I didn't have a deep impression of him. I drank a cup with him, then he looked at everyone. If you ask who I admire most from high school, it has to be our big brother Ethan. He married Sophia when she went broke, and chose to divorce her when she became the richest person in our city. Hearing that, everyone laughed along. Seeing this, Tyler hurriedly clapped to draw attention. Alumni reunion isn't just about talking about Ethan. It's been years. Let's each say what's been going on with us. When Tyler interjected, the alumni reunion gradually returned to normal, and everyone began introducing their work, studies, and lives to each other. Before long, the private room door was pushed open. Her voice arrived before she did. "Tyler, you're too much. An important occasion like the alumni reunion, and you didn't even tell me. You should at least let me host and treat everyone to a meal." Playful and bell-like, the voice instantly captured everyone's attention. Looking up, he saw a beauty in OL attire clicking into the private room in high heels. Tyler gave an awkward smile. "I figure Miss Sophia is busy with work, so I wouldn't bother you." The classmates, upon seeing the legendary richest woman and campus beauty, all stood up out of habit. Sophia smiled, pulled out a chair, and sat down, saying helplessly, "That's not an option. No matter how busy I am, I have to come, or my husband will really divorce me." When Sophia said that, everyone's gaze focused on me, their faces full of puzzlement and shock. I was baffled. You, a cold, aloof beauty CEO, keep pestering me for what on earth? Besides, the divorce papers were signed, the divorce certificate was collected, and we're already living apart. What more do you want? Tyler saw the awkward look on my face. He knew the whole backstory and quickly jumped in, asking, "Ethan, you're a prime bachelor now. Do you have any requirements for a future partner? If it doesn't work out, I can always go abroad to clear my head, huh?" I propped my chin on my hand and thought seriously. A more mature, dominant woman, someone who knows how to take care of people. Sophia's face darkened when she heard that. That question, when I went for psychotherapy this afternoon, my attending physician and fellow alumnus, Avery Morgan, also asked, "Ethan, now that you're divorced, what kind of person do you plan to find next?" My answer at the time was Sophia from back then. Avery Morgan lowered her head and smiled lightly, still not sparing me any face. When a girl asks that kind of question, you can just answer someone like you, even if you're lying. I sighed softly. "Sorry, Avery, you know me. In this life, I'll only ever love one person, even if we're apart." The party was winding down, and I left early. I ran into Avery Morgan, who still hadn't left. "Had a drink, huh? I'll walk you back." I sat in the passenger seat, looking at Avery Morgan with her exquisitely made-up, breathtaking beauty, and thinking to liven the mood, "Avery, now I'll snap my fingers, and you'll forget that you ever ate some kind of foreign specialty snack." I snapped my fingers. Avery Morgan froze for a moment, raising her hand to stop me. "Wait, I haven't eaten it." I nodded. "I know." Avery Morgan, seeing my perfunctory reply, hurriedly emphasized, "I've never eaten it. Can you understand?" I understand. I really haven't eaten it." I nodded in agreement. "Of course I understand." Avery Morgan grew a bit anxious. "No, that's not it. You can't suddenly say something inexplicable and then claim I've eaten it before like I haven't forgotten." "So you remembered?" I haven't eaten it, you understand?" Yes, you haven't eaten it before, of course." Avery Morgan raised her little fist and tapped me, her voice several decibels higher. I haven't eaten it. I took her hand. Okay, let's not think about things we've forgotten. It's fine, it's fine. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knocking sound coming from outside the car window. Following the sound, I looked up and it was my ex-wife, Sophia. At this moment, she was giving us both a hostile look. She opened the door and got out of the car. Quick on your feet, huh? Already found a new place so fast. Sophia ground her teeth, shot me a glare, pulled me behind her, and then suddenly slapped Avery Morgan, who had just stepped out of the car. Avery Morgan stumbled and nearly fell. I hurriedly grabbed Sophia. What are you doing? I didn't expect that the moment I showed any intimacy with Avery Morgan, Sophia would strike someone. Sophia's chest heaved violently. She had it coming. I was about to say that we're already divorced, and who I get close to is none of your business. But Sophia pointed at Avery Morgan and said, Avery, is it fair to scheme against me like this? Avery Morgan touched her face and looked Sophia in the eye. I did plan against you, but I also told you this approach is risky and could very well fail in the end. Putting someone in a do-or-die situation isn't right for everyone. Sensing something unusual between the two women, I calmed down and watched them. Avery Morgan is my psychiatrist. I never told Sophia about this before because I was afraid she would get jealous. Sophia took my hand and led me toward the rock garden and pond. The evening breeze stirred her long hair, bringing a faint fragrance. Sophia looked up at me slightly. A few months ago, Avery told me you have serious psychological issues, that you have no sense of security about family and marriage, and that only by reconciling with your original family can you resolve these knots. Hearing her words, I frowned and said nothing, preparing to listen to what she would say next. Sophia glanced at the sink. Back then, the company was going public, and the Demon City Evening Post wanted to interview me. When I learned that person was your half-brother, I thought I'd get in touch. Maybe I could solve your problem. And at that time, my flirtatious friend Luna was chasing Harrison. I was worried she'd toy with your brother's feelings, so I pretended to be coy with him to stop Luna from ruining him. My thoughts were a bit scattered. I didn't know how to respond. Sophia clenched her fist, gritting her teeth. Humph. That woman Avery schemed against me. You, Harrison, and his mother. There's no way you'll reconcile. What I do will only drive you, who already lacks security, further away from me. Looking into Sophia's eyes, I knew she wasn't lying. This matter was finally settled. We'll remarry, try for a baby, and then I'll give you a whole brood, okay? Thinking of the usually mischievous Avery Morgan, this was indeed her style. Even clever Sophia was fooled by her. I sighed. I'm grateful you helped me untie a knot in my heart, but the divorce still stands. We are about to walk different paths. I want a simple life, a warm home with a wife and kids. You want to fight for your career and become someone above others. Everything was different for what Sophia had expected. She grew a bit flustered. If you think I have too many US dollars, I'll just donate them all. I shook my head helplessly. Let both of us go. We are on different paths and cannot work together. Sophia's eyes were full of sorrow. Then, as if giving up, she said, Then come home and have a couple of drinks with me. When I woke up, it was already dawn. Looking at the torn Balenciaga and lingerie on the floor, I fell into deep thought. In the days that followed, Sophia stopped harassing me and turned to harassing my mom instead. A month later, while my mom and I were eating, she even pulled out a pregnancy test. I couldn't understand it, but after Mom read it, her eyes lit up and she immediately went to make soup for Sophia. That day, I took Sophia to a prenatal checkup. I saw a handsome guy next to us wearing sunglasses driving a Ferrari. So cool. What's wrong? Husband, do you want it? I stared at the Ferrari without blinking. I want it. If you like it, I'll buy you one. I turned to look at Sophia. Really? That's insanely expensive, isn't it? It must be tens of thousands of dollars. Sophia said decisively, Of course. Isn't earning money meant to improve life quality? Besides, if I don't spend my earnings on my husband, who else would I spend them on? Kissed Sophia on the cheek. So, when are we going to the auto show? Sophia looked at me in confusion. What are we going to the auto show for? To buy sunglasses. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the 3rd day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. "They're after your painting," the private detective asserted, "and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust." I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. "It's taking too long," Tom said irritably. "How much longer until he sells the painting?" "Don't worry," she soothed him. "I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money." "You're really pregnant?" "That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly." "Does Annie know the truth?" "She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help." I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. "You don't actually have feelings for George, do you?" Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. "It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word." "Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it." Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell Eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. "This is a surprise I prepared for you," I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. "To celebrate the new life we're about to begin." She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. "It's beautiful, thank you." She smiled as she prepared to put it on. "Wait," I stopped her. "Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back?" She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved." She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. "See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace." I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, "After all, this is your final design." Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. "Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light." On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. "The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. "This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it." Mary immediately chimed in. "Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future." I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting." Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, Mary. This is my wife, Mary. I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I studied jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall. But there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory, dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines, with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. New friend? He asked me quietly. Mary's student, I explained simply. Very talented. Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant. and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. Mr. George, Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. I've always had a question I wanted to ask you. What is it? After you finished the pursuit, what are you planning to create next? The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since the pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. I haven't decided yet, I answered honestly. It might take some time to find a new direction. Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. Maybe, Nicole said softly, you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further. I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. You mean, creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry? Exactly. Nicole said excitedly, your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect. The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, I have to confess something. I looked at her in confusion. I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you, she said candidly. I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion. Her sincerity moved me. You're already on that path, and you're doing very well. Then, may I consult you often? She asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, See, I knew you would find a new direction. When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. Am I really up to the task? She asked me in the studio. You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone, I assured her. That's exactly what I need. In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it. At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's all right, I said with a smile. I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself. Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, Professor George, may I ask you a personal question? What is it? When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole. I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. "I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. "Don't play dumb, man," Frank said bluntly. "You have feelings for her. That's obvious." "That's just professional rapport," I argued. "Is that so?" Frank looked at me meaningfully. "Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France?" I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. "I know what you're worried about." Frank lowered his voice. "You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you?" I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. "Mary has been gone for 3 years now." Frank gently patted my shoulder. "She would want you to be happy." After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. "Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months." Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. "This experience has meant so much to me." "I should be thanking you," I said sincerely. "Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed." We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. "My flight is the morning after tomorrow," Nicole finally said. "I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other." 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. "Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there." She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. "Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity." "What is it?" "I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works." She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. "I didn't know that," I said in surprise. "I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion." Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. "But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you." I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. "Nicole, please don't respond," she gently interrupted me. "I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past. but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, It was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence. No matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said. Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.